Luna's your host.
Don't brush up against
She just wants to say hi.
Hello everyone, we are back with another episode of Talk Nerdy with me. Sorry for the unplanned hiatus, but I'm your host, Adam.
And I'm Brittany.
And we're talking about the Eternals today. And I'm excited because this movie was so cool.
Luna's joined us officially. She's like, I love being on camera.
Yes, sorry, this is your host, Luna, who will also be running the show. Oh.
That was a lot of pressure for her.
Yeah, okay.
But anyways.
Yeah, so we're here to talk about the Eternals, and I think this is cool because this is a story that most people went into with no backstory or knowledge of the characters at all.
Yeah, no prior knowledge.
Like, even, like, as a comic book lover, you didn't know much about them.
Yeah, you said that there was only, like, a couple of comic books even
out
about the Eternals.
I did a little bit of research, but there was just not much about them. Like, they're not really used too often.
Yeah.
And it was just cool. It was just such a fresh story. A lot of people say that it didn't feel like a Marvel movie, that I totally agree with. It really didn't, for the most part.
Yeah, I think that they're just saying that because of, like, their characters and, like, situations that we've never really dealt with before.
I just felt like the directing just felt a little bit different.
Did it? I feel like it had just as much humor.
It was not even really the humor, but...
You know what I feel like was different about this one? Just the age of the characters. Like, they're a
just
lot...
more mature.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that.
Because, like, obviously, I mean, they're Eternals. They have literally been on Earth for, 8,000, 7,000 years in the movie, so they're bound to be maybe a little bit more mature than Iron Man and Captain America and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think they did that really well,
yeah.
Like, overall. They had more of, like, a family-oriented perspective versus, like, we're gonna save the world and get girls at the same time.
Yeah, it was really cool, but I do think it did feel different in a good way. Like, I thought it felt like a refreshing kind of Marvel movie. Like, kind of with Shang-Chi, I think that felt a little bit different to us, too. But it's just cool, like, we're getting different kinds of movies. Like, it's not the same...
Yeah.
Like, with the older Marvel movies, it was almost like the same copy-and-paste story with a lot of these origins.
Definitely.
So, with these characters, it was just cool to have such a big... Like, they actually... I was kind of nervous at first because I wasn't sure when exactly it'd be taking place. But I thought they did a really good job showing the before, middle... Well, sorry, like, the before and during, you know what I mean? Like, showing what they did when they got here, like, the history behind everything, and, like, how they are where they are now.
Yeah.
So...
I agree. I think that, like... I mean, first, I should say, we saw this yesterday, so it's still pretty fresh in our heads, but forgive any mistakes. But, yeah, no, I think that they did it fairly well, and I also... The only thing that I kind of wish that they had maybe tackled a little bit better was, like, how infinite, like, their time feels, like, and how they actually, like, dealt with that, because I don't think they really ever did. You know, like, I think that fighting the Deviants was, like, their main purpose, which is good, because otherwise you're alive for a really long time. But, like, those 400 years where there was, like, nothing in the middle or whatever, I think that I would have liked to know, maybe, what they did, like, what was going on, and get more information on it, but, like, there's only so much they can pack in a movie, you know? But it still made them feel almost, like, unrealistic, like, as characters, you know?
I think it was kind of inferred during that, like, 400 years. It was just, like... I mean, obviously, there were wars throughout entire history, but I think just because of the technology, like, it led up to the Hiroshima, where he said, this is my fault. I think they inferred that
was rough.
The 400 years were just a result of all these new technological advances that were causing all these wars and stuff like that. So I think they just kind of...
I just meant, like, their lives, like, what they were doing with their lives.
That's what I mean. I just don't think they had anything to do with it. I think they were just kind of out
No,
of the picture.
because she even told them, like, the only reason that she let them go when the Deviants were, like, all
like,
killed.
what were they actually doing that whole time?
I mean, just, like, it feels almost like...
Like, just it would have been a fun couple minutes.
Not even that, but I almost feel like they just didn't have... they didn't feel grounded, to me. Like, in that in-between time. Like, yes, we got, like, more of a kind of, like, grounding, I guess, like, with everything that was going on. Like, we kind of see that, you know, the one guy made Bollywood movies and made, like, a family dynasty. And we see that What's-His-Face probably had a hand in Hiroshima and then made a family. You know, like, but then she is a history teacher, ? Like, it's just, like, it's... Some of them feel very, like, loose. Like, almost like they're there only to do what they need to do in this moment. Which kind of makes sense, I guess, for the Eternals. Because that is basically what they're put on the Earth for. Is just not to interfere. Which is
I think it would have been a funny
storyline.
callback, like, especially if you go somewhere like, you know, the 60s or the 70s just to see them. Like,
Just
a change of
moments.
styles, you know, just like a
Yeah.
little callback would have been funny. But I
Or
just
even
felt
like when he dumps her. You know, like I would have loved to be able to see that.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just I feel like we were told a lot of things in that situation.
Yeah.
You can't show it all.
I think that was the biggest thing, is that there were just so many characters that they really tried to get everybody's story in there without leaving anything out. So just the minor details like that wouldn't have done much. It would have just been fun, you know.
I just think it would have grounded the characters a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because in the end, it just felt like some of them were, I don't know, almost like plot devices, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But that's my only complaint, really, that I can think of, is that they just felt almost unrealistic. Which makes sense, because they're supposed to be, like, celestial created beings, you know?
I just feel like with that many, like, that's just bound to happen that way just because of personalities. Like, obviously, Cersei's living a life. It's just not very flamboyant like Kingo's. So she's just a history teacher. Like, it's the same thing, actually, like Wonder Woman in the Justice League. Like, she's a
Super
historian.
similar.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
actually.
And it's funny because she was like, I was there. I use these artifacts, you know? So it's, like, cool in that aspect.
Well,
that
she created it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that was the wild part for her. But, like, even, like, the whole, like, tiny bit where they're saying, like, she's addicted to her phone. We saw her use it twice.
Yeah, but I still think, like, in the time she used it, I definitely saw what they were trying to do, saying that she's, like, kind of in touch with, like, the modern day thing.
Yeah.
Like, it was almost, it felt kind of, like, not authentic, just because you knew exactly what they were doing when it popped up.
Okay, that
But
was what I meant.
I do agree that it was kind of necessary just to show that she is living in this time, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, that was kind of what I meant. I think that, like, a lot of, and again, it's kind of bound to happen with, like, the way that these characters are, but, like, a lot of, like, the experiences felt just inauthentic, like, unrealistic. Like,
makes sense.
Like,
I think it was almost just, like, the way they delivered it, too.
Yeah.
Like, because she has her phone up, like you said, 2 times, and she's like, oh, you're addicted to this thing, huh? Like, little Snapchat filter, like, that was it.
Yeah.
And, like, granted, they're off fighting this entire time. It's like she's going to keep being on her phone, but just the act of it, just being a one and done, it just felt like it was a throw-in.
yeah.
So I do agree with you there.
Well, just because it's, like, I mean, you could tell that she, in the one scene where it's, like, in the past, and she's, like, hanging out with everyone, like, kind of being more involved in the community than, what's his name?
Icarus?
Boyfriend. Yeah, Icarus. Then Icarus is, like, there you could feel, like, the authentic, like, connection that she had with the humans and everything, but I think that in the future, like, you almost, like, lost sight of it, so they had to, like, mention small things to be like, yeah, see, she would totally throw everything away to help out these humans, you know? Look at how addicted she is to her phone. Yeah. You know, like, it's like, okay, that wouldn't have been my example, but okay.
Yeah. So I did think it was interesting, because, like, the biggest thing, like, the reason Ajax, you know, decided she wanted to save humanity and, like, all the Eternals basically siding with humanity, I'm still just like, I don't know what you guys are seeing. I don't think we're worthy to be saved.
No, I agree.
And it's just funny because it's like, you know, they keep saying, you know, we're put here, we love these people, we love everything about it. But it just makes you curious, like, what they see that makes them think that. Because you would think that any alien race would be doing the same thing.
Right.
So, like, I can't think of what difference they're viewing. Maybe it's just their actual perception, since this is the first time they're consciously being part of it.
But that's what I'm saying. Ajax, it doesn't seem like she's ever really had her mind erased, because she said that she remembers the millions of years that she's been serving the Celestial. And it's really only the others that she seems to be, like, wiping their memories of, you know? Like, the one thing that she brought up as her example is, like, half the universe was wiped out, and they all got together and brought it back with the snap of their fingers. And it's like...
But that wasn't, in terms of saving her, that was almost going against Arishem, saying that even though Arishem is all-powerful...
No, that's what Ajax told Icarus when he was saying, like, like, basically when he went to go visit her on that last time, and he's kind of noticing that she's, you know, failing a little bit in her original duty. She says this place is different. Like, I mean, look at their potential. Like, look at what they've done. They brought back the universe with the snap of their fingers. And, like, that was kind of her prime example of, like, the cherry on top of all the reasons why she already thought that the human race was better.
Yeah, I do think, though, the way she was trying to word that was not... Like, it was definitely pro-humans, but it was also kind of downplaying Arishem as being this god.
I don't think so.
Well, because that's what she was saying. She was like, we're here to harvest and create a new Celestial, but being paused for the 5 years pushed this back, and the world has not ended. So she was saying that there are alternatives to this, that we can keep this planet alive and somehow either make the Celestials survive or...
No, I don't think that was her point when she was mentioning that.
That's how she was wording it.
No, she worded, like, other things kind of like that, but in that specific moment, she was saying, like, the whole bringing everyone back.
Right.
Like, that's what she was impressed by with the humans.
But it wasn't the act of bringing them back. It was that there's something powerful enough to continue humanity where you wouldn't need to destroy it.
No, it was that the humans had enough drive and motivation in them to find something to bring everyone back. Like, that's what she was impressed by. She was like, look at, like, what they can achieve, like, what they can do.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't in the sense of, like, an Infinity Stone can stop a Celestial. It was in the sense of, like, look at how, like, if they put their mind to something, they're actually going to get it done. Mm-hmm. Like, that was how she phrased it in the thing, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I can see it both ways, but I definitely interpreted it the other way around when I first heard it.
Yeah, there was a few things that me and you interpreted very differently in this one, which I feel like is going to make for a way more interesting podcast.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was how I took that part, at least. And then... that's when, you know, he killed her. I told you.
You did. You called that.
The very beginning, I was like, I don't trust him. He's too pretty. He's like, everyone loves him too much. Yeah. I have no faith in him.
It was interesting, though, because he's like the definition of, like, the good soldier kind of thing. Like, he's not bad at heart. Like, his goal wasn't to backstab everyone, but he's like, I was basically created to do a mission, and I have to see that mission through.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just ends up having him turn against his family. So, but I love that twist, honestly. I thought it was totally, I did not see it coming. Like, once you mentioned it,
really?
I was kind of thinking about it, but he just seemed so good, you know?
Really? Oh my god, I didn't trust him the moment. Like, literally probably the second that he actually started, like, being like, well, I have to learn the language if I'm going to want to hang out with you, to Cersei. I was like, I don't trust him.
He was honestly, like, he was as Superman is. I just...
Yeah, but there was something sketchy about him.
I don't think it was sketchy, though. I think it was, like, curiosity, borderline, like, he almost didn't want to be in charge. That's how I felt. Like, he just wanted to take orders. That's the vibe I got from him.
Well, only once Ajax was dead.
Right, but even with Ajax, he wasn't trying to lead. He was like, tell me what to do kind of thing.
Well, because she was in charge. So that was more of like... but that's more of the mindset of being like, there's an order to things and this is how it's supposed to be done. Mm-hmm. Because, like, even in the beginning when they initially split up and everything, when he's about to go up against Druig, like, literally gonna kill him, and the only thing that stops him is Ajax being like, no, we actually should split up. We should just, like, live our own lives right now because everyone else is dead. Like, the Deviants are dead. Let's just live a life. And he's the only one that was clued in that moment that, yeah, the world is going to end. You might as well enjoy it. Mm-hmm. But his whole, like, not wanting to lead thing, I always took... He did want to lead, like, in a sense, because he wanted everything to still go in the order that it needed to. He just wanted, like, Cersei to also live in, like, oblivion. Like, he didn't want her to know, and that's the only reason he says he split up with her for those 100 years, which is stupid to me, too. Like, that... I don't know. His motives are off. Like...
Yeah, but I don't think it was a place of, like, calculation. I don't think he was, like, some elaborate plan. I just think he was trying to figure it out by like, not admitting to his feelings or, like, what he actually wanted.
Well, yeah. No, I don't think that, like, he had it... Well, but that's kind of the thing, is I think he had some of it plotted out. Because, like, he even said to Ajax, he was like, I knew that you were flagging. Like, that before he took her to go see everyone, he's like, that's why I visited today. Is because I knew that you were kind of, like, starting to doubt.
Yeah.
And... even though, like, he was loyal to her when she was still loyal to Arishem. But once he realized that she wasn't really all that loyal, he was like, well, I'll take the mantle. I'll do this myself. But then at the same time, being okay with the idea of Cersei being ignorant, being in charge.
Yeah.
Because he's like, well, it's still going to all work out. They're not going to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
The person's still going to come out of the earth.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I agree. I don't think he was, like, malicious. Like, even in the end, how he flew into the sun, which, very sweet, because, you know, Icarus flew too close to the sun, and that's how he burned and died, in, apparently, the legend that Sprite told. And he also did it because he knew that he couldn't live with the guilt of having killed a Celestial. But also with the guilt of, like, betraying his family. He couldn't do either.
Yeah.
He towed a line, for sure. But he seemed sketchy to me from the start.
I feel that. Those Celestials are absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
And I think it's just tough with those, because, like, they did a pretty good job at portraying them. Like, especially, like, Arishem, like, anytime he would speak with Ajax or Cersei, you're like, wow, like, we shouldn't piss this guy off, probably. You know what I mean? But it's just interesting to think of how they can fight them at all at any point. And this is exactly what the Fantastic Four 2 did wrong, was trying to have Galactus be like the villain. And this is kind of what makes me nervous, like, moving forward to where they eventually have to deal with these Celestials. It's just a tough thing to put on screen because, like, how do they beat one of these things? Obviously, you can prevent him from being born, but, like, how do you take down a Celestial without...
But, I mean, they even said that the only reason they could do that is because apparently they're connected to the Celestials as they come out. So they were actually using his own power to amplify their own and take him down. But I think that that's a little confusing, too. Because she turns that deviant into a tree without being connected to the Celestial.
I still don't understand the significance of that.
She's not supposed to be able to warp matter that's alive.
Right, so sentient beings.
Yeah. So, like, anything that's a sentient being, she's not supposed to be able to change.
But why was she able to do it in that moment? We don't know.
I don't think it was explained. And if it was, it wasn't done well.
No, not at all. Because it was random. Like, I didn't understand it. I'm like, okay, turn into a tree, now what?
Well, I mean, I did
like,
understand the significance. No, I understood the significance, but I didn't understand why it happened. Because she didn't either. And, like, even then when they're talking with Fastos. I remember Hephaestus, and that's the only way I was remembering his name. But Fastos, he even says, he's like, that changes everything. You know, I'm like, well, why?
Yeah.
Why did this change everything?
Yeah. That's what was weird. It's like, a lot of their powers, like, you understood, but it was almost just like, I'm not really sure how we're using these. Like, Kingo could shoot lasers from his hands and make the little, you know, like, Dragon Ball Z ball. But, like,
oh my god.
Yeah, but, like, is that it? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just seemed kind of weird for that to be, like, their only power.
Well, it was kind of funny that, like, Icarus was the main fighter dude.
Yeah.
Like, and then you have Athena there, who is literally supposed to be, like, the goddess of war for Athena.
But when I'm thinking of how they beat these Deviants, all I can think of is Icarus burning their eyes out, or Athena cutting them in half. Like, those are the only two ways I can see these Deviants dying.
I don't know. And I guess, like, they all did kind of have roles to play.
Yeah.
Because...
It was, like, a tactic every single time. It wasn't, like...
Well, not even just that. I mean, like, I think in general, like, whenever they're placed on a planet, their roles are to help human, or, like, whatever society they're in, advance, obviously, to get enough people to then be killed. But, so in that, like, situation, like, Fastos is kind of moving them forward electronically, kind of, slightly. And then you have the speedster. She basically just gets everyone out of the way, just in case. I don't understand Cersei's role. You know, like, is she there to make cool materials for people? Like, I just don't understand each of their roles. Like, some of them make a lot of sense, but I don't see how they're all supposed to be warriors when they're not giving warrior powers.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's like, if it's to set up infrastructure, I get it. You know what I mean? Because, like, manipulation in this way, setting up, you know, the base for...
Okay, but even that, like, the whole manipulation thing that, like, Druid can do. And the storytelling, like, I just don't... I need more explanations. I do.
Yeah, it's like, there's really Icarus, Athena, and then that was pretty much it.
Ajax makes sense because she heals.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It was an interesting group, but it's just, like you said, it doesn't really seem like they're all fighting. It seems like two of them are fighting, and the rest are just kind of helping. Even, like, pushing them, like, hurting them in the right direction.
Well, and that was kind of, like, the weird part, too, because Icarus obviously was way more powerful than anyone else. Like, he could fly and shoot the laser beam things. Like, when they were all fighting against him in the end, it was basically a lost cause for most of the time, you know? Like, it's just kind of a weird scenario. Like, why weren't they all created equal? Is it Sprite? Because I keep saying Sprite, but I'm thinking of, like, soda right now. Sprite?
No, Sprite, yeah.
Okay. Why is Sprite a child?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I think that's I do think the way, like, their creation, I think you mentioned this, you don't think it's, like, legit. Like, they're not robots. They're like, they may be artificially created, but they're not, like...
they're not made
like,
in the
fake.
millions.
Yeah.
Like, how they were showing in that one scene where, like, he was showing her all of the many models of her and all the others. That didn't make sense to me. Like, it kind of did in a controlling aspect, but, like, they don't die with each celestial that comes out. Yeah. They never die. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's not like the consciousness just lives on in them or something.
No, like they just steal their memories and they place them somewhere else. And I told you that. Like, why would they place their memories in another, like, weird memory holding area if they could just keep it in the body?
Yeah, that honestly...
Like, if they had a million of them.
The more I think about that whole scene, the more it just didn't really make sense.
I think it's a lie.
Yeah, I feel that way too. Just because, I don't know.
Like, that's why I think that, like, maybe, like, their powers don't make a lot of sense for what they're supposed to do, because they really do kind of make their own, not like consciously make their own decisions, I guess, because like they can't keep evolving, which is the one thing that he wanted. But like when they're created, they're singular. Like they have their own power. Like the way that their body like creates that power is theirs. It's not given to them.
Yeah.
And like the way that they come out like looking, it's also theirs. It's not like, oh, I want this one to look Asian. You know, like it was just kind of inherently like DNA almost.
Yeah.
That's how I'm assuming. But it is weird that they would give a whole explanation. No, I think there's a lot that's going to be taken back, you know? And even like how you were saying earlier, you're like, I don't understand how we would be worth saving. Like that's going to be in the next whatever they're in, because that's literally what they get taken away from. Like they take them away to be like, I'm going to go through your memories and see if you were right, if they were worth saving.
Yeah, but that's what's interesting is that they're essentially being put on trial.
Yeah.
Amongst all the Celestials to see if this decision was worth killing another Celestial for.
I didn't think it was all the Celestials. I thought it was just going to be him.
Oh,
that makes more sense.
Yeah, so...
I was going to say, why do they need to be taken away for that?
I thought his name might be like Erisham the Judge or something like that. I don't know if that's actually his name
the
or if I just made that up.
Executioner.
But like, because he mentioned Judgment, and I'm pretty sure the Celestials get like a separate part of their name. You know what I mean? Like something to something.
Yeah, like the Destroyer, King,
exactly,
the Conqueror,
exactly.
things like that.
So I thought they had names like that, but it's just going to be interesting how this gets resolved at any point. You know what I mean? Because like I was saying, I can't see these guys fighting a Celestial. You know, we got Harry Styles recruiting the rest of the crew now.
That was wild.
Like, I don't understand what they're going to be able to do, but like to have just the Celestials.
Well, but like, even like having Harry Styles in that scene, like more so proves my theory that I don't think Eternals are like robotic creations that are like continuously made the exact same way.
Yeah,
he was
and
different.
So, just for clarification, so Harry Styles has a cameo in the first after credit scene, and he plays, is it Eros?
Yes.
He plays Eros, which is the brother of Thanos, and his nickname is Star Fox, I guess. And he's another Eternal. So he recruits, he doesn't recruit. He pops onto the ship with Thena, Druig, and Makari. And he says, we got to go help your friends. So it means like something's going down. And essentially what we assume is that they're going to be put on trial for killing the Celestial. So it's going to be interesting to see how they either break them out or save them, or we have this big interaction between Eternals and Celestials.
I mean, it's going to be interesting in general to see how like the Celestials play a part in this new stage of Marvel's cinematic universe, you know, because it's just so big picture. And it's so hard to, like, imagine. Like, they kind of tried, I think, a few times to collide both the things, obviously, with the boyfriend asking them, like, okay,
why didn't they do anything?
Yeah, why weren't you here? And they're like, we're not supposed to interfere, you know, things like that. And I know that, like, I have a whole crackpot theory on why no one is really, like, there. No Avengers are, like, trying to join in on the fight when they should be probably sensing this Celestial rising out of the planet. And I just feel like they're playing on two completely different fields, and I don't know how they're going to join everything together.
Yeah, they definitely are, and I'm kind of nervous for it, honestly. Like, we haven't been disappointed yet, but when we were watching, you know, WandaVision and then Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we're like, oh, there's magic, and then there's going to be the humans, and those are two completely separate storylines.
Yeah, because it's the multiverse, you know? Like, you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
But, like, you're grouping these guys into, like, tiers almost.
Yeah.
And now we just threw the Celestials in, which is bigger than everything.
They literally are making the universes.
Right, so we have the Celestials up here dealing with the creation of humanity and, like, the galaxy.
Creation of everything.
We have the magic people here dealing with breaking the multiverse, which is everything in between, you know, time and space.
Yeah.
And then we have, you know,
our normal
Bucky
Avengers.
And Captain America dealing with people stealing Iron Man suits, like, in Armor Wars, and, like, Hawkeye and all of them. So it's crazy that at some point, again, we will have all these guys interacting, but they're all dealing with very, like,
big
intense
to them
stuff.
things.
Like, considering we just got done with Thanos, like, if you look at what's about to go on in these stories, like, these are bigger than Thanos.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this multiverse, like, Kang the Conqueror is bigger than Thanos. And the Celestials, they made everything, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they're like, whatever's higher than, like, I don't know if you can really say anything's higher than a god, but they're the creators, you know what I mean?
No, they are, like, because gods, like, they're supposed to make the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Celestials theoretically
made the world.
Made the gods that make the world.
Exactly,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
like,
yeah. So it's just
like how even, like, you know, Thanos is supposed to be actually just, like, a mutant between, like, Deviants and Celestials.
Well, he's a Titan. He's essentially, like, a god, too, but...
Well, yeah, but he, like, his original, like, storyline is supposed to be Eternal mixed with
Deviant.
Deviant.
Yeah, he's got a Deviant
Which
gene.
is weird.
Yeah.
But, like, that's... His mix is theoretically those two things.
Yeah.
And then there's Celestials above him. And then there's, the Beyonders.
Yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't ever come to play. That would be way too much.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's all a lot. But... Yeah, it's just interesting, because you would think after Thanos, like, hey, we're going to take it easy, we're going to do some side quests,
They
and it's
literally
just like,
said...
you have 2 weeks PTO, and that's it.
They literally said, yeah, you know that guy that destroyed half the universe? Okay, now imagine if there was way more than one universe. Okay, now imagine that we have to fight the people that make those universes.
Yeah, and they're so big they can't actually step on a planet, but they could eat it.
They literally could step on... They could use it as a soccer ball, basically.
Yeah, and they could just chomp it. They just go, oh.
They could go...
Yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, don't even worry about Galactus. We'll tell you about him later. Like,
said,
why? It's like, oh no, he's like the eater of planets. He legitimately just chomps on him. Just eats them.
That's very much like, what's-his-face from Doctor Strange.
What?
He is, like, he consumes planets, too. What's his name?
Dormammu?
Yeah, Dormammu. We were just...
Consumes planets?
Yeah, he, like, turns planets into their own, like...
Oh, into darkness.
Yeah. He
So
basically consumes them.
Yeah. But...
Which is kind of funny. I don't know, there's just such a big playing field now. And this is probably, out of all the Marvel movies that have come out in, like, recent history, the most on the line, like, as far as people's enjoyment of it. So it's kind of interesting to see where they keep taking Celestials, because it might just be a little too big picture for some.
I don't really think so. Because almost, in a way, this could be, like, a standalone. You know what I mean? Because,
I don't think, with the way that they left it off...
Well, no, I agree with, like, all the Easter eggs and stuff, but, like, if you went into this movie with absolutely zero context of the Avengers, it would still make sense, I feel like. Like, I don't need any of the Avengers for this movie to make sense, and I thought that's why it was cool.
Yeah.
Because, like, they're that big of an entity themselves, you know?
Sure.
So it was cool because it almost kind of felt like a one-shot, even though we'll obviously have tie-ins down the line.
Well, no, but that's what I mean. Like, I don't know how... Like, tying this in...
Yeah, the characters.
Like, that's gonna be tough.
Yeah, that's what's interesting, is I have a hard time seeing any of them interact with the Avengers.
Yeah. I mean,
because I'm pretty sure in the comics, all the Eternals just die.
Oh.
So, yeah, I'm pretty sure, like, they all, like, kill themselves or something, like, dark like that. So I'm just not... I thought they were all going to die at the end of this, honestly, before going into it. So
who got taken in the end? It was Cersei?
It was Cersei, Kingo, and Sprite.
Okay, so he just left Phastos alone.
I don't know. Yeah, no, because there was definitely only 3.
Yeah, there was only 3.
Maybe
they couldn't get him out of his shield. Like, his shielded house.
Maybe, yeah. That makes a good point.
Because that would be the only thing that he was definitely involved, you know what I mean? Like, you can't just, like, ignore him because he has a family.
Yeah.
Like, a celestial being would not care.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm
yeah,
not sure.
because that was the only thing I was wondering. Because I thought that maybe, like, Sprite wasn't there because she's now human. Mm-hmm. But no, she was, right?
Yeah,
okay.
she was definitely there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you want to talk about the Black Knight stuff?
Oh yeah. So I think it is so wrong that they casted Kitt Harrington just to fall in love with a chick named Cersei. I think that is so wrong.
It's spelled different.
That is so cool. I can't believe they did that. That is so funny though.
I literally...
He's hilarious. He's so goofy.
He's Scottish, right? Like, as an actor?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he is, but I could be wrong. Actually, I'm gonna check on that while you talk.
The accents in this movie were awesome.
Amazing.
I loved listening to everyone talk. All their accents were so great. They were all different.
Yeah. No, they were... I mean, I loved Cersei. I was so excited to see her in general in the movie because... I mean, you know, I've been obsessed with that actress since Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah, she was great.
So it was great to see her in something else. I didn't even recognize Kitt Harrington at first until you mentioned it. Literally
really?
No, yeah, he looks so different.
No, he doesn't. He looks exactly the
he
same.
Doesn't. No.
He looks exactly the same.
He looks so baby in this. Like, he looks like a smushy little cute professor boy. Not at all, like, defend the wall. kind of man. Here, wait, let me see. Oh no, okay, he's from London. Okay, either way, there's only one guy with an accent for Cersei, and it's not Icarus.
Gotcha.
In the movie, I thought he was Scottish, so I was like, there's only one Scottish man for her.
But yeah, so we got Kitt Harrington's character, and he didn't do much except towards the end, he was saying how I also have a family secret.
Yeah.
And
he was just supportive.
Yeah, so when he was casted, we were told. Well,
I didn't know.
I found out that he was being casted as the Black Knight. So the whole time I was wondering how that would play into this.
Oh.
And so at the end, she gave him some type of family crest in the beginning. Do you remember?
Yeah, no, she gave him a ring. And see, that's why at first I was like, wait, is this Icarus? And then I got confused. But she gave him a ring literally of his family crest from, I don't know, the Dark Ages or something. And he goes, this must have cost you a fortune. And she was like,
I was super curious though. I was hoping that would have been like a key or something that like opened up the box or like activated the sword. But there wasn't any other like reference to it. You know what I mean? Like just like a magic seal or something.
I think that like if you would, because you can see the seal like in the kind of frame as he's grabbing it, and maybe if you already knew about the Black Knight and everything, that would have been like a really cool Easter egg for you to find. I didn't know much about any of that, so I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, oh cool, Game of Thrones.
Right. So he will be the Black Knight at some point. It's going to be interesting to see how exactly they portray that.
I mean, even like the way that, because he's so scared, so baby, when he's opening it up. And I told you, I was like, there was an Easter egg for that exact blade earlier in the movie, because when Thena is messing around with Excalibur, was it Druig that comes up to her and he goes, oh, what are you playing with the Black Blade? And she goes, no, this is Excalibur. And he goes, oh, whatever, another magical sword or something.
I think it has another name. Let me look it up real quick.
He says Black Blade, though. That's how he, like, referred to it as in the movie. And at the very end, when he's opening up the sword, in Latin, of course, but the caption is literally like, what, death is my prize? Which is really, really interesting. I don't know how that works.
The Ebony Blade.
The Ebony Blade. Okay, they might have said that and I transferred it into my head as Black Blade.
It's not wrong.
Same thing.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting though, because with the Black Knight, I don't really know if it's going to be like, you know, he picks it up and the thing like takes over, kind of like a Hulk situation, because it's a cursed blade.
Yeah.
So it's like...
That reminds me of like the helmet in the DC comics.
Dr. Fate.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's going to be like it takes over his body and it's like out of his control.
No, I mean we just saw Shang-Chi. You know what I mean? And in those, it was very much the user.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day.
Yeah, but this is a cursed sword that's whispering at him.
And those little like rings aren't.
No,
they specifically said in Shang-Chi that like the more he wears them, the more he loses his mind, kind of.
Okay.
So they didn't mention that at one point, which is why he'd put him away for so long. And then he put him back on, and that's what also I think made Shang-Chi so nervous about putting them on himself, because he was like, what if I'm the same way? Yeah. And then it ended up being okay, and then at the very end there was like we've never seen this material before, and now we're being introduced to the Eternals. I'm just really curious how all those things combine, because I feel like they have to. Definitely.
Oh, one note, because like the Black Knight was cool, but like character-wise, just kind of like, like keep giving me stuff, and I'm cool with that. But what was even cooler about that end credit scene is the voice at the very end, because as he's about to pick it up, you hear a voice, and it goes, "Are you sure you're ready for that?" And he calls him by his last name, and I'm like, "Who is this voice?" And immediately you think Nick Fury,
but then I'm just like
Nick Fury just doesn't make sense to just be in this room. Like even though it probably would, just because he's everywhere.
Yeah,
I couldn't justify that, and then I looked it up, and apparently the director did confirm this. The voice is the actor who's going to be playing Blade in the new upcoming movie. And Blade, if you haven't seen it before, he's essentially a vampire slayer. And the movies are they're older for like a comic book kind of adaptation.
It's also really interesting that, and I know that like technically it doesn't have to be connected because Venom isn't theoretically connected yet. But like Morbius coming out, and that very much is vampire energy.
Oh yeah.
Like you can't.
Well, no, he's a literal vampire.
Like right. So then it's interesting that like there's someone like Blade coming around too. That's a vampire hunter at a very similar time.
And Blade's a badass. He slays the vampires, but he does it with a gun and a sword. So his combat is very like.
It's very gunslinger.
The movies are rated R. I'm pretty sure. Like they're very dark and.
I never saw them. You were so shocked.
So it's cool that they're rebooting it. But it's even cooler that we got a teaser of him this early, you know.
Which also makes me wonder, like, what does the Ebony Blade do then if it says, like, death is my prize, and then you have a vampire hunter basically being like, are you sure you want to do that?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Like, what does that mean? Like, what does he kind of turn people into vampires? Yeah. Like, how does that work?
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they use him.
Yeah.
I'm really curious.
And he's obviously doing this all to save his girl.
Who? Oh.
Kitt Harrington. Yeah. Like, he's sitting there, and he literally was, like, ready to open up his family cursed blade because he saw his girl get taken away into the sky.
Yeah. That was terrifying. Like, I know I mentioned the Celestials are terrifying.
Yeah.
That scene was terrifying. Because, like, you figured it was coming, but then you just see the face in the sky, and I tried to imagine being, like, a human. I'm just like, when will it end?
Okay,
like,
but
why
see,
does this keep happening?
I told you, like, okay, part of my crackpot theory, and we won't get that much into it, because I swear I was convincing him for, like, an hour last night, and he's still not even convinced. But I have a theory that, like, the celestial beings, like, their playing field is almost not invisible to humans, but not being interpreted in the right way by the humans. So, because even in the end, when they get taken away, you see the freaking eyes in the sky, he says something, and, like, she gets pulled into rings and pulled away. As soon as that's done, obviously, Kitt noticed, because he's been noticing, because he already had prior knowledge. But the humans in the background, you actually hear one of them go, wow, yeah, she just disappeared. And, okay, could have been an innocent thing, but if I'm a human, and I've seen a lot of alien things, I wouldn't have gone, this girl just disappeared. I'd be like, whoa, aliens just stole a girl.
I still have no recollection of that phrase.
It's like muttered.
Like, not being that nonchalant either. So, like, I see where you're coming from, but I also just, I can't imagine there's just a switch that some people get to understand. No,
it's not a switch. It's prior knowledge, in my opinion.
But so prior knowledge allows them to see and process that a celestial's right there.
To process, like, that's what's happening, yeah.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I think, because, like, how you'd even mentioned, you're like, well, yeah, but they always saw the deviants, you know? Mm-hmm. But the only time that we really hear them being referred to isn't even in, like, the sense of, like, the deviants being seen. It was actually them being like, oh, that was Superman. He was fighting on TV. Mm-hmm. Like, you never actually hear them ever talk about, like, some of the weird creatures and stuff.
Yeah, but they don't mention it, but, like, clearly they're doing something. I don't know,
Yeah, this only kind of comes into play with my whole theory of, like, why the Avengers wouldn't show up to this. Because remember how you were like, I feel like they would have gone to the site where, like, the guy's coming out. I'm like, I don't know if they'd know.
This is probably the only, and I don't want to call it a problem because I honestly didn't
Plot
want
hole.
the Avengers to show up. But yes, it makes absolutely no sense for none of them to show up, only because they are so aware of everything going on. Like, even when there were earthquakes in the ocean and we were hinting that it was going to be Namor and Atlantis, the Wakandans knew about that. Remember? At Infinity War, where they're like, oh, there's some, earthquake activity going on in the ocean. Like, everyone said that was Namor, but if they're able to sense those earthquakes, they can sense this volcano and all these other seismic events happening. Like, at the very minimum, the Wakandans have the technology to know.
Well, no, they would have been able to, like, sense that there are generally earthquakes happening, but I don't think they ever would have tied it together to a celestial being coming out of the planet.
But even then, like, you could have, like, a volcano blowing up like that. Like, that wasn't a normal, like, volcano.
Volcanoes blow up all the time.
I know, but, like, a volcano with all that earthquake activity around it?
Well, no, okay, in that exact moment, yeah. But, like, it wasn't like the volcano was actually earthquaking the entire time leading up to it. It just started, like, right as they were about to come out.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I'm saying, like, yeah, they would have sensed earthquakes, but, like, there's earthquakes all the time. And the best, like, the most that they probably could have thought was, like, ah, shit, we really did ruin the world. Mm-hmm. It's just about it, like, self-destruct. They could have never guessed that it was a celestial coming out.
Yeah.
To be like, I'm gonna fight it.
I agree with that. Because the thing is, there's obviously a very small window when shit started going down.
It was
literally I agree with that,
a week between the seismic activity and then, like, within, like, the hand coming out. That was, like, 15 minutes.
Yeah. But, I don't know. I just feel like the three people I would expect to have done something would have been Wakanda as a whole.
Sure.
Captain Marvel or Doctor Strange. I just feel like one of them should have had some type of...
But I don't think so. Like I said, the Celestials, like, playing field isn't something that's within the scope of any of them yet.
Yeah, but as soon at the exact second a hand pops out of the earth, Doctor Strange can walk through a portal and pop up there. You know what I mean? Like, he can sense that.
And see, that kind of goes into my whole theory that, like, Doctor Strange low-key might be corrupt right now. I have a lot of crackpot theories in the moment.
Evil Doctor Strange.
I'm telling you, yeah.
But no, I hate arguing this because, like, it's not that I wanted it to happen, but that is really all I can feel as a plot hole.
Yeah.
Is that with how powerful and, like, what everything the Avengers have seen and known, it's weird for them to not get any cameo at all. I wouldn't have wanted it. Just because it would have been, like...
Yeah, it would have been cheesy. Like, it can't do anything.
Like, okay, sure, like, let's get the Avengers again. Like, we've been doing this forever. Yeah. But as far as, like, continuity goes, it does seem odd that not a single one of them...
I mean, I think it might be mentioned, like, in later movies. Mm-hmm. You know, like, what were they doing that was stopping it? Mm-hmm. Like, even, like, theoretically, like, Doctor Strange might be doing whatever it is he's doing with Peter Parker,
Yeah,
like
that's a
while
good
this
point.
is going on.
Yeah, watching like these upcoming shows, like in Hawkeye or Spider-Man, they're like, was that an earthquake?
Yeah.
And then then on the news they see like the Eternal
They'll be
Hand
like,
coming
what
up.
the hell is that? Because they've never seen Celestials. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even think that they have the concept to grasp it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe Doctor Strange would.
Yeah.
But he's never mentioned it either.
Yeah.
They think of, like, the Time Stone still as the biggest thing in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So to think of a Celestial, they don't even know about, like, the TVA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's, like, a whole scope that's even above their
on.
radar.
That's true.
So it's gonna be so interesting. I just don't know how it'll smush down, merge. Honestly, that was the moment, though, for me, where I was like, these things are freaking huge. Because when they were coming out of, like, the Earth, I'm like, oh, it's a head. It was a hand.
It was, yeah.
It was
I know,
fingers. Like,
I'm so curious, because that's going to be something later. Like, either a battle's going to take place there, or someone's going to, like, try and harvest, you know, the pieces of it.
sure, because, like, granted, she turned it into marble. Like, that is officially marble, you know? But who knows?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of energy could be in a celestial body? Although, would it have any energy if it was drawing all its energy from humans? You know, like, and if no one died, did it really absorb anything?
I feel like that was kind of a very...
That's kind of a plot hole,
not
in my
an odd
opinion.
concept, but, like, I'm still not really understanding. Because he doesn't
It's like
eat
life
them as he
force.
comes alive. He, like, feeds off them being on the planet. So it's almost like Mother Earth being inhabited is, like, providing energy from the roots down, you know?
Right.
But,
and that's also kind of where I got confused with the whole deviant thing. Because remember at first, the main Celestial, he basically says that's a sign that it's about to happen. And it's like, no, it's not. They were just trapped in the ice. You know, that didn't make a lot of sense to me either. Because obviously deviants feed off of intelligent life, just like the Celestials do.
I thought the Deviants, like, by the end of it, were kind of, like, funny.
They were redundant.
Yeah, and it was weird because I get it. Like, it was almost... I mean, their main purpose was a lie, you know?
Yeah.
But it was funny that they turned into, like, almost like a side villain trying to be involved, you know, by the end of it.
Yeah.
Like, they're trying so hard, like, fight me. Like, no, we gotta go deal with that over there. And so it was funny because, especially once they became sentient, they still just didn't do anything with it, you know? And, like, there was not much for them to do. Like, I didn't think that one guy was gonna survive and come back with an army or something like that. But, you know, they really had a whole, you know, let's say a couple of days of being alive and it's still just attributed to nothing. And even though, in theory, they were on the same side, like, both of them were anti-celestial, pro-life, I guess.
But they were against each other.
Yeah, they're still pit against each other.
Well,
so.
that was the funny part. It's almost like, I mean, actually kind of like how normal society works is like the small guys always still like fight each other so that they don't look at the big guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that was literally what they were doing. He was like, you still were killing all of us. I'm gonna kill you. And it's like, yeah, we were killing you because they told us to. Like, you were trying to kill everyone.
Yeah. No, I think him being sentient was very... Like,
odd.
It just didn't do much.
It was extra.
Like, I thought it was going to be cool, like, oh, now I'm the deviant leader, you know? And
it was very Ultron, in my opinion, 100%.
At first. I got the exact same vibe as soon as he started talking.
Yeah.
And it just, you know, it got sliced in half, so.
Yeah, he just, like, was about to beat up Thena, which was so depressing, because, like, she was there for her friend, like, the one that he protected her.
Yeah, I was so sad he had to die.
Oh, that was
I'm
my heart.
I hate to say I'm glad someone did die, because characters need to die, and that's an ongoing problem, is that people just essentially live forever. How long did it take?
Asia did. Or Aja.
Yeah, no, I know they killed a good amount this time. I'm just saying in previous movies, like...
But we also just got introduced to these ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I just think I think it's important, like, for characters to just... Even though these are Celestials, like... I don't know. There has to be death.
That's true.
There's just too much going on for someone to not die, you know?
No, and that's true. I think that it's just hard to do that with, like, a fan base, like the Marvel fan
Yeah,
base.
because we get sad. I'm like, I love Gilgamesh.
Yeah, he was such a sweetie pie.
Yeah, I agree. It was super sad that he died, but I do think it was necessary.
It had to be one of them, and in the end, it kind of was the best one. Like, he was the only one that was willing to put down his own sense of security and, like, sense of living for one of them. You know, like, they wanted to just erase Thena's mind, and he was like, no, I'll take care of her. No one else offered, even though, like, they all were like, you can't just erase her. No one was like, yeah, I'll take that responsibility. Yeah. And then, of course, the one person that does dies.
Yeah.
It's always like that, I swear.
Stuff. Who's your favorite out of all of them?
Okay, wait. Let me think this through. Like, power-wise or, like, character-wise?
Let's let's say who's your favorite character, and then who's the most fun to watch.
Okay. My... I mean, Cersei's just beautiful. Like, she's a beautiful person to watch, but I related the least to her.
Oh, really?
Like let's be honest, like, of course you did. You're a wholesome sweetie pie. I would not turn a Celestial to marble for humankind. I'd be like, wow, humankind low-key sucks. I totally get you. Let's destroy it. So as far as, like, not even relatableness, but the one that I felt the most, like, I feel you, is probably Thena.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, because she's just, like, I don't know. She doesn't have, like, a huge role, and she doesn't have, like, a fully formed personality, to be totally honest. She's very much just, like, the broken down character that keeps, like, freaking out and fighting people. But I liked her character, because, like, the few things that she did say, it was, like, impactful. You know? Yeah. Like, her moments were impactful. Like, she loved Gilgamesh, so she went up against the weird deviant, you know, that was sentient. And, like, I don't know, when you see Cersei, like, looking at the statue that they have of the Celestial, and she's, like, questioning her whole life, she's like, get up. She literally is just
straightforward.
Yeah,
she was a badass.
Yeah. I don't know. And it was kind of cool to see how, like, their storylines tied into, like, actual history for humans.
I agree.
Because, like, she actually did protect Athens. Like, she is the goddess Athena because Athens was protected by Athena, you know? Like, and so her story gets warped. And, like, even the way that Icarus's story gets created by Sprite. Yeah. Because she told people that.
Yeah, I love when they do things like that.
Yeah.
Where they kind of, like, try to make it loosely adapt. Or, like, say, like, that was them.
Well, because I thought it was so nerdy at first that I was like, oh my god, Cersei, Icarus, like, really, these are the Greek gods. Well, even how they said
they came from the planet Olympus. I was like, what? And when they said it was fake, I was like, okay, that makes more sense.
No, when they were saying all that, I was like, oh my god, are you really telling me these are the Greek gods? But then it made way more sense because, no, they're not the Greek gods. This is what the Greeks base their stories off of. Yeah. Like, that was so much cooler than being like, yeah, these are actual gods.
No, I love when they do tie-ins like that.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It was sick. Like, I loved how they did that, and I loved seeing it, like, play out, I guess. It was fun. Yeah. I mean, even, it's interesting, because Cersei, like, the goddess Cersei, her story is, like, low-key tragic. Because she was like, the daughter of a Titan. And she kind of, like, gets her heart broken, and then also gets sent to an island for the rest of eternity to be alone for forever. And she's, like, visited by Odysseus during his journey, and they fall in love, but, like, not really, because he has a wife. And then, like, she has, like, a very tragic story, but she's also, like, a witch kind of thing, like, with nature and everything. So it's interesting that that's who her character ends up being, like, loosely based with. It's just a weird situation, like, very tragic, very in touch with the earth. Yeah.
Who's your funnest to watch?
What do you mean?
Like, who did you enjoy, like, most watching? Like,
Thena.
Oh, she's, like, overall favorite. Like,
favorite,
okay. Most entertaining.
I thought I only had two to pick.
Yeah, you only picked one.
No, I picked...
You picked Cersei?
Well, I mean, Cersei in general, I think, is, like, the most beautiful and, like, the most fun to watch in general. But, like, since I didn't relate to her as much, Thena is probably my favorite.
I feel that.
Yeah, I just like how everyone talked about her, because she didn't say much, and then
I agree.
They'd be like, she's just very stylish.
I thought her role was just perfect. You know what I mean?
Oh, for Angelina Jolie? Yes.
Like, I think she had, like, the perfect amount of script. Her, like, I think people had a love-hate relationship with, like, the fighting, because I don't think people like the CGI in the trailers. I thought it was fine during the movie, but I absolutely loved the way her weapons would just, like, change with every single swing. Like,
it reminded me of something.
But it was just so sick.
That reminded me of something, and I can't remember what it is. It's gonna bug me, but it's almost like there is something that I've read that it's like a kinetic energy weapon where, like, you just create your own weapons, like, with your energy, and I can't remember what it is, but it was
that was one thing I loved. Like, I thought the effects and how they use their energy, like the way she made her weapons, or the way, like, they make the rings appear around their hands and stuff like that. Like, just those little gold rings that would pop up around them was just so freaking cool.
Well, that was what, like, Fastos was doing.
No, I know, but Sprite would do the same thing when she'd make an illusion. She'd have, like, rings pop up with her fingers and work it like puppets. You know?
Well, it was cool how they even, like, played it into like, human history. Like, at the very end when they were doing their you know, end screen credits, how they showed those kinds of circles being used in, like, all of the hieroglyphics and all of, like, these, like, recorded things. Like, they had a bigger impact than maybe they were meant to on the planet.
Yeah, agreed.
So, I don't know. It's also kind of weird, though. Do you think that maybe the only reason that Ajax was trying to stop their advancement is because she liked them so much, because she full on told like
to chill.
yeah, she was like, it's not time for that yet, they're not ready for that yet. But that shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter if they're ready for something if it's just going to increase their population.
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
yes and no. The problem is if you just jump right into that, it just doesn't make sense. Like, they're not smart enough to comprehend what it's doing.
well, but they would figure it out. I think that she just wanted them to like have as much time as possible.
I could see that. Yeah, that
You
makes
know,
sense.
because like she was already telling them in Babylon, like, this is different. These people feel different. We shouldn't do it this time. Oh, that also played into my crackpot theory. Remember how in like the Bible, Babylon fell very differently than Deviants. I don't know. I think that it was a cool story, just very different than what you're used to. It's very much rooted in mythology.
That's what I liked about it, though. I really did enjoy
Right.
it.
Wait. So who were your favorites? So favorite to watch and then favorite.
I am in love with Cersei, so
Yeah.
to leave that at that.
I mean, she's literally like the embodiment of the kind of character you would be.
Yeah. So I
Like,
absolutely loved her.
she's just happy to be there.
yeah.
Just sweet.
But yeah, as far as entertaining goes, Kingo was such a gem.
Oh my god, he was so funny.
Such a gem. Like,
he was so funny.
I didn't realize like how funny he was gonna be.
Yeah.
But like his character just being there, like, made the entire story so much funnier.
It cut the tension so much. Like, almost like in an excessive way. Like, I can see how some people might think he was corny or cheesy, but I loved his character.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I thought his assistant, like, everything about him was just so
even
funny.
the part where like Cersei gets a call and goes, who's your carrier? Because I don't have any
Yeah, I
bars.
know,
You know? Like, he was just, the assistant. The assistant was a gem too.
Yeah. So I thought their role was just awesome. And you know who I also like that I wish got more time was Makari.
Yeah.
She was so cool, but
She
she really
was.
just wasn't there for most of it.
Yeah,
But-
she was like collecting all of those artifacts. Did you like that was what she was doing?
Yeah.
Which is really interesting because I feel like that emerald tablet is going to have like a bigger role maybe later. Because in the beginning they're looking for it and that's when Druig was like trying to help her find it. And then in the end she finds it.
Yeah.
And I feel like they made a big deal about it both times. Also, the whole scene where they're, where I think it is,
I hate it.
yeah, when did this start? I hate it. Between Druig
They're
and
like
Makari.
snuggling, yeah. They're being cute with each other.
Like, that was so funny. Yeah, because he's, like, swiping the tablet, and she's like, ooh, you
Yeah.
know? Like, batting her little lashes at him. I was like, when did it happen?
I know. So funny.
Like, he's literally been in the jungle, like, the last 500 years protecting his humans.
Yeah.
When did this happen?
Yeah.
Like, I guess if...
Super funny.
Because she was theoretically in that spaceship that entire time.
That's what I was wondering, because that thing came out of the ground, so I'm like, did she
Right.
sneak into it, or what? I don't know.
I thought I saw, like,
didn't
a cave
look up.
entrance kind of thing, like a crypt entrance kind of situation, like, that they'll do at dig sites and stuff. That got, like, ruined when, obviously, the spaceship floated up. But I'm assuming that it has to be something like that, because she has chips in there. You know, like...
I thought the way they did her speedster-ness was very good.
Oh,
I liked it so
yeah.
much better than how they did the Flash. And, like, I hate to say that's
And
what
how
I was
they did
comparing it to
Quicksilver.
the whole time.
Did you mean Quicksilver?
No, I don't really mind Quicksilver. Quicksilver's just not that fast.
Facts.
Compared to the rest of them.
Yeah.
But no, I thought the way they did her combat was just, like, really cool. Like,
Oh,
that's how
yeah.
Flash should look. But the way they did it in the, in the Snyder Cut, in the most recent one, is just odd to me.
Well,
like,
just even, like, how she's, like, pushing up Icarus to the wall. Like, when she's, like, beating him up, you know? Like, it was wild. And even when she was, like, spinning around him. That was very, like, reminiscent of Flash versus Superman.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, we mentioned it basically in the movie, the moment that it happened, but, like, they mentioned both Superman and Star Wars in this, which I told you, I was like, they're literally saying, no, this isn't a fake universe, this isn't the Marvel universe, we're in our normal universe. Yeah. This is just happening.
I think that's one of the coolest things, because it's, like, because it's all real places, so
Yeah.
like, in your head, you just kind of, like, pretend to put yourself in it. Like, this is
Sure.
happening. Like, somewhere celestial is just rising out of the ground. I was just
Self-insert, yeah.
going on with my day, But that's what I love about Marvel. And you can't do it with DC because it's, like, all made-up places.
Yeah, not
But
even just that,
it's
but,
just
like,
not as,
it's
like-
hard for rights, like, the rights-wise. Like, at
Yeah.
least Disney owns Star Wars, too, so, like, they could kind of have, like, Star Wars comics and
Yeah,
stuff.
it is weird that they could just mention Superman like that.
I thought so, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that. But I guess, like after a certain amount of time, like something isn't copyrighted anymore, like it's like 70 years, that like then it becomes public domain. Like I wonder if it's kind of like that with only just mentioning Superman as a name.
Yeah, because even like in a normal movie, like if you mention Superman, I don't think you had to pay DC any rights because you're just mentioning his name. You know? So I don't really know how that works, but
he did look a lot like Superman.
No, Icarus is 100% like he does everything Superman does, minus like the freeze breath.
He doesn't really do everything Superman does. He just has the
super
laser
strong,
eyes and
super fast laser eyes. Flies.
Right. Okay.
When he
the X-ray vision, like I always think of those things with
right.
Superman.
No, when he flew up into space and he chilled up and just turned around and looked at the Earth, I thought he was just gonna, because Superman does that where he just goes up into space, uses
he
the sun to recharge,
and
he just sits there.
Yeah.
And I thought that's what he was gonna do, just exile himself and just say, "I'm just gonna sit here and watch Earth."
Yeah.
And I was like, it's a little too Superman-like.
Oh no! You even said it though. You were sitting there and he goes, "He's gonna fly into the sun." And I'm like, "No way!" Yeah. And then he flew into the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that he ended that way. Yeah. I don't think, like, even though he in the end doesn't kill Cersei, like with everything that he did do, it was pretty unforgivable as far as like family stuff goes. And, like, with his own morals, he couldn't live with himself for having killed a Celestial. I don't think there was any other way for him to end.
Yeah, I don't think it was really a redemption kind of situation, but I do think that was, probably what was best for him to get. Just, it's not closure, it's just, I don't know.
But, that also makes me wonder with... Ajax's character is very interesting to me, because she's the only one that actually knows everything that's going on, and she's the one that has all her memories intact. And the one thing that I'd been thinking of was maybe she always knew that he's a super soldier. Like, he is very much brainwashed by the cause and, like, very much not gonna think of anything else. She's the one that told him to tell Cersei how he feels. And I was wondering if she knew, even then, that the only thing that could ever change his mind is being in love. Like, being in love with someone that was so in love with humanity that he couldn't possibly kill her, even when it went against his morals.
That's a good point. I don't know if she really knew at that point, though, that she was planning on
saving them. It's hard to know, though, because she's been with this team, this exact team, for millions of years. She said it. They've seen millions of planets, like, go up like that, They've brought around a lot of Celestials.
Yeah.
They just don't remember it. She does. So, I don't know. It kind of makes me wonder. Like, because she was already interested in the humans at that point. And it was only after she'd already admitted that, like, maybe these humans are different, that she told him, like, you should kind of see what you feel. Tell her how you feel.
Yeah.
And it could have been either way, because she obviously was, like, the motherly figure, so she might have just wanted them to have a good life while they could have it. But, like, it could have also been, like, in the back burner.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. I don't know. Her character's really cool to me. I love Salma Hayek, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously.
All the actors in this were so cool.
It was a great cast.
Yeah.
It really was.
It really was.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I wanted to mention was I was hoping it would give some insight to what the rings are from Shang-Chi.
I thought so too.
Especially the homing beacon part at the end credits. Like, I thought that was them going off because of the Celestial being born.
You mentioned this.
So that's what I mentioned. The main reason I was kind of confused on why the Avengers didn't pop up is because I'm pretty sure in the end credits in Shang-Chi, they all left because something was going down. They're like, it's like ringing like it's calling something. You know what I mean? So it was almost like the alert was going off from the rings and they're like, an event is happening. So I thought that was like, oh, a hand's coming out of the earth.
But that's the thing, is it could be any number of things, since literally, yes, hand coming out of the earth.
Yeah.
It could be Wanda, because we don't know what the time frame is for any of this.
We don't know exactly when this takes
So, like,
place.
it could have been Wanda. It could be Doctor Strange with Spider-Man. Like, it could be the weird, like, scroll thing that is happening in some other, like, eventual history, Like, it could be so many things.
I totally forgot that we also have, like, the Marvels fighting in space. That's completely separate, too. But yeah, no, and it's interesting because they have to be celestial, like, in some way.
What do you mean?
The 10 rings, like, they have to be some type of celestial object.
I mean, and that adds wind to my theory too, because, like, how are you gonna have an object like that no one has ever seen, even Doctor Strange and like all of the sorcerers? Oh, it ran out of battery. I don't know if I just scooted it.
What was the last thing I was talking about? The rings?
The marbles?
No. Well, I mentioned it, but I was talking about the rings, I think.
Oh, yeah. You were talking about the rings. Because you thought that they'd be mentioned. And I agree. I think that, like, if any... Oh, I was saying that adds wind to, like, my theory of the whole, like, even the Sorcerer Supreme, like, didn't have any kind of records of what the rings were made out of.
Yeah.
which lends more to the idea that like somehow the Celestials are playing on such a different plane that like they're not even recognized.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that is what's weird, because I feel like they have to be tied to the like Eternals or Celestials somehow, but it's weird that from the time of them coming to Earth, like, there was no mention of them. But especially when they made the Unimind thing, those rings looked similar. Like, they're a little bit smaller, but
oh yeah, no, I mean
the way they like, went all around their arms and stuff.
I kind of thought similar, as far as
if this were earlier, I thought they were making the 10 rings, and they somehow got lost in history.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But obviously this is in present time, so it's not happened.
Well, I mean, even like the design that's on the 10 rings is very reminiscent of the kinds of circles and everything that play into the Eternals, like powers.
It's just weird because with the blue aura, like, it doesn't seem eternal.
Well, it's not blue, it's gold, depending, because
Shang-Chi,
it's
change,
gold.
you're right,
yeah. It's I don't know what it would be, though. Like, would that be, like, an experiment of...
Phastos?
Yeah, and I don't think it would be, because it would have had to be 1,500 years prior. Because, he was alive for those 1,000 years. Yeah. Like, how could you make something that makes someone immortal?
It's going to be interesting, because they're obviously going to explain it at some point, especially because of how curious they were at the end of Shang-Chi.
Oh,
but, yeah, I'm interested. I'm super curious what it's going to be.
Yeah. I think that'll maybe be the tie-in between them, but watch us be, like, totally off base,
I hope we are. I honestly love when we're completely wrong, and it's, like, something I didn't see coming.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I don't know. This is very different, obviously. They get to play a lot more. Yeah. Now that, like, they've already set all this stuff in stone, set, like, a very, like, loyal fan base. Now they get to be like, look what we can do. Yeah. Like, we're going to talk about Celestials. Yeah. And they're like, why? And we're like, we don't know. Yeah. Like, you might not know for 10 movies.
Yeah, pretty much. We're at that point, but I love it.
Yeah. I guess the last thing that I wanted to talk about was just, like, we talked about this already, how we were kind of annoyed that people were saying that this was, like, weird diversity. How they were like, oh, this feels so forced. And, like, neither me or you felt that way at all while watching it. Like, the only thing that even made me notice to be like, oh, yeah, this is a pretty diverse cast was because going into it, so many people were like, the diversity just felt so forced. Like, this doesn't even feel, like, natural. It felt pretty natural to me. Yeah. It was nice to have so many different kinds of characters. Yeah. Like, from even just, like, having, oh, God, what's her name? She's deaf. Makari. I was thinking, never mind, I'm not going to say what I was thinking.
A mute, not deaf.
No, she's deaf too. She says she feels vibrations. Oh. Okay. She wasn't mute. She actually, remember she screams?
Oh, really?
Yeah, she screamed when she saw Druig, she thought Druig had died. Oh, and she screamed, like, she's just deaf, so, like, when you can't hear, your voice sounds, like, different. I didn't catch that. So she was just deaf, and she said that, like, she can still sense the vibrations, though, of people talking, which is how she can, like, still, I guess people don't have to speak in sign to her. But I did notice that, like, when they were speaking to her, it was, like, either they did try to sign just because, like, maybe it helps, or it's more respectful, or they'll touch her so that they could feel the vibrations better. Yeah. Interesting. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. Because Druig always talked to her in sign, which was really nice. And then when Bollywood guy, oh God, I keep forgetting all their names. Kingo. I literally thought of that the moment we sat down. I was like, I don't know any of their names. Like, not even one. Yeah. I couldn't even remember Cersei. Yeah. But Kingo, when he always talked to her, he would, like, half sign too, and it was just so funny because the things he talked about, he's like, well, have you seen my movies?
I know. That's what I think, like, the diversity between them all just made them so much more interesting. Like, it was just so cool to see, like, for the couple of them that were doing things, like, Kingo's off being a Bollywood star. Yeah. Like, that's hilarious.
That was awesome. He's like, it's a family.
Yeah.
This is my great-great-grandfather.
This is my dynasty. My family has just been actors, and it's just him just throughout all the time. Yeah. And then you have Phastos, who's got a husband and a kid.
Yeah, after he gave up on life.
Yeah, he's like, I'm done with humans. Like, my technology, made them kill each other. Like, I just want to live a happy life, raise my kid. And that was sweet, because it gave one of them a different reason to want to keep humans alive. You know what I mean? Cersei's like, I feel like this is the right thing. Like, I'm getting the vibe that we should do this.
Well, Cersei, like, loved humanity. Like, she just, like, in general was very attached. Yeah.
But then with, Phastos, he's got a family, Yeah. So it was just cool to see, like, the different sides of it. Like, everyone's different motives and, like, just like, it's not upbringing because obviously they've been around for forever, but like, you know, what they were doing with their time and like their backs, it gave more to their backstory, just how different they all were.
I just realized it is interesting that Kingo got lifted with all of them because he wasn't involved.
Maybe it was Fastos then, and Kingo wasn't lifted.
No, he was there.
He was there?
He was there. I remember.
I only saw Cersei and...
no, because they zoomed in on his face. Like, he, like, looks over or something, from what I remember. And I was like, oh, shoot. Because he's, like, taking away Sprite, you know? Like, she's supposed to live with him. Yeah. But it is interesting because he wasn't technically involved in that way.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I liked the diversity. It didn't feel forced to me. It just felt like, cool, we have, like, a bunch of new characters that are... I don't know, more relatable.
Agreed.
You know, like a whole group of eternal beings, and you're not going to make them look different.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like...
So, and I just feel like we just need more diverse characters at this point.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
we have enough, like, white characters at this point.
Yeah, and that's what's cool, because, like, we are getting a lot. Like, you know, in this movie, we've got, you know, Fastos, who was gay. We had Makari, who was deaf. We're getting Miss Marvel, who is Middle Eastern.
Then we have, like, obviously Cersei. She was Asian.
And then Shang-Chi.
Well, like, Eastern Asian, right? Yeah. And then Kingo, who's also Asian, but Indian Asian.
Yeah.
Western Asian, I think that's what it's called. Yeah. But, yeah, no, it was nice to see just, like, a bigger group of them and see what they all did with their lives. Yeah. It was funny. I like that Kingo's the only one that was like, I'm going to become a movie star. I
know. And, like, honestly, like, if I could live forever, that definitely seems like one of the more productive things to do.
Yeah.
Like, to just enjoy your life. Like, why not become famous and use all my resources?
Oh my god, it was so funny, too, because he was like, yeah, you've been in movies. He goes, I've directed a few things, too.
Yeah. How many views? Don't do it for the views.
Yeah.
That was
like,
great.
that was just hilarious. And, like, that he was actually making it based off of all of their backstories. Like, that was even cooler. Like, that when we go in, it's Icarus's story, you know? Like, I don't know. I thought that was a fun thing. He's like, I want to be remembered in history. And they're all like, he's like, no, I'm not. I'm just doing it for passion. Like, they were great.
It's so funny.
I am still curious why Sprite was a child, though.
Yeah, that just... It throws a wrench in exactly how they were created or, like, why. Just because it doesn't make sense for her to just be that young.
There's no need.
Yeah.
Like, as far as, like, an eternal being, like, you can almost make excuses for all of their powers. Like, having to do with humanity and, like, things like that. She was the only one that didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, you didn't need her to be able to make visions and illusions. Like, what does that add?
Yeah. Yeah, I do think that was kind of odd. So hopefully they explain it at some point, but we'll see. Because she's human now.
I mean,
so
she's right. She's human now. I don't know. I feel like there's so much that we're probably missing because it feels like such a big story.
Yeah, it was huge. Like, it was a lot. There's new characters, new ideas, like, and it's just weird to throw this just directly in the middle of everything we already knew. So
yeah, like, I'm sure they had that moment where they're like, okay, if we don't do it now, like, we'll never be able to do it.
That's what's interesting. It was like, in theory, we probably could have gone without the Eternals, like, as characters. Like, I loved it, but, like, we didn't have them. Like, I don't think it would really made a difference.
I mean, I guess that depends on what, like, this whole phase brings in, because I feel like they're probably necessary
at some point down the line. But
I mean, especially if it has anything to do with the 10 Rings.
I do think that they're gonna be. I don't think we're gonna come back to them for a while. I think they're very far. Like, I'd probably say 5 years before we hear about the Eternals again.
Really?
Just because of how many movies they've already announced.
Yeah.
Like, we've already got announcements up to, like, 23, I think, or 24.
That's funny, because I would say, like, maybe 3 or 4 years.
Uh-huh. Well, it's 2021. It's about to end.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
2021's ending.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I don't think we're going to hear from any of them for a while, unless it's going to be an end credits scene. You know what I mean? So, like, I could see something at the end of Guardians, maybe, but that's really it. So, but hey, it'll be fun to wait. Yeah,
because what were the 2 end credit scenes? It was Eros.
The first one was Eros coming onto their ship, and the second one was Kitt Harrington with the sword. And
that was the second one. Okay. I guess it would be in his story that I would assume that we'd get more.
Blade?
Yeah.
No. I mean, we'll get more Kitt. We're not going to go back to the Eternals.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Blade and Kitt. Because Kitt he's in love with Cersei. You know, like, he's literally doing this for Cersei. It would be pretty hard to not bring it up at all.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Like, maybe he will, like, lose sight of it. Like, I don't...
I just meant, like, we're not going to get, like, if we get an Eternals 2 or something that has to do with them being saved and or broken out or going on trial, that's not going to be for a while.
I feel like, yeah, potentially it might not be, like, an Eternals 2 kind of situation. I think that maybe they're going to be blended
with another story. They might call it the Celestials.
Huh?
They might call it the Celestials, the next one.
Yeah.
Like, the Eternals, then the sequel is the Celestials.
Yeah.
That's who we're dealing with.
I mean, we have no idea how, like, this whole celestial Marvel structure is going to be taken by the rest of the Marvel universe. Like, they'll literally have a whole... They had a moment when they realized they weren't alone in the universe. They were like, oh my god, there's aliens. You know what I mean? That was a big mind-blowing moment. And now they're about to be like, oh... So not only are there aliens, there's actual beings that have created everything, and they were about to come out of our planet, and we had no idea. Like, they're going to have, like, a meltdown.
Yeah.
Like,
well, the Guardians knew, but, yeah, no one else did.
Barely.
No, they knew.
Well, they had his dad, Ego.
No, what's it called? Nowhere is a...
Oh, okay.
It's a celestial head.
Yeah. I need to rewatch Guardians because
it's a floating celestial head.
No, it is a floating celestial head, but
Is it Nowhere or is it no, it's not Nowhere. Wherever all the collector stuff
is. It is Nowhere. Isn't it Nowhere?
I can't remember.
It's called Nowhere. It's just spelled funny, isn't it?
Wherever the collector lives, I'm pretty sure it's a celestial head.
They said it's a great being in the movie. They said, like, that it was something, like, long lost, that they've never really, like... They don't know what it was. They didn't call it, like... They didn't anchor it to the timeline, if that makes sense. They said it was long lost, I think.
Nowhere is the severed head of a deceased celestial avatar.
Mm-hmm. But if, like, you watch the scene, like, the way that they talk about it was, like, very much past tense. They're like, we don't even know where it came from, and it's something that doesn't walk the planet anymore. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, but didn't they even show, like, the little clip with the Infinity Stones, and there was a giant celestial with the staff?
I don't think... Was that in... Oh, that was in Guardians, right? With the Collector?
Yeah.
The Collector's a weird kind of figure, because Collector is, like, supposed to be...
He's celestial, too, I think.
Isn't he?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
we need, like, a little diagram that shows, like, who's a celestial.
Well, it's even funnier because Ego's technically a celestial being, but, like, not even. Like, it's not a celestial. Like, in the comics, it's not a celestial. You know?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because Ego, all he can control is a single planet. But it did remind me a lot. You know how he said that he planted seeds in each planet? So that it could become all his planets? That reminded me a lot of the scene in this movie where he goes, yes, we planted a lot of, like, things, and then eventually one of them turns into a planet turns into a celestial.
Yeah.
Babe, you know you're not supposed to use your computer while it's doing the mic stuff.
Sorry, I was looking at all these celestials.
Do you not have a phone?
Yeah, it is Arishan the Judge. I knew it.
do you not have your phone?
No, I do.
Do you hear your computer right now?
It's working hard.
She sounds like a dragon.
Okay. So, yeah, no, these celestials all look very specific. But, like, there's just a bunch of different tiers of, like, those cosmic kind of beings, you know?
Cosmic being. Yeah.
Yeah, because, like, eternity and death, like, I don't know what they're considered. But they're, like, entities, you know?
Oh, yeah, isn't it, like, death what, like, Thanos courted in the comics?
Yeah, Deadpool
but then
did, too. He
death could theoretically be, like, Hela, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so death is death, and Hela is the goddess of death. Does that make sense?
Right, so which one's more powerful?
Death.
But if you're the goddess of death, wouldn't you be the goddess of death?
But death is the entity of death.
Like incarnate. Death incarnate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is different.
So, like, when you think of, like, eternity, like, eternity is also, like...
a thing.
Yeah. Well, they just... We're gonna get too technical.
Yeah, you're right. I don't...
It's just gonna be a headache.
You know what? We'll save that for later.
Yeah.
I think that's all we have to talk about then.
Yeah.
Icarus is trash.
I'll never forgive him for what he did to Cersei.
Yeah, he broke her heart. Like, that still doesn't make sense, you know, to be like...
Just left her.
Yeah, he broke her heart, and then he almost killed her. Cersei's a better person than I, because Sprite also tried to kill her. I would...
Literally stabbed her in the back.
Yeah. After gaslighting her and being like, you would never be more powerful, like, enough to do this than Ajax's body. Like, what?
I know.
That is rude.
Stop.
It's kind of funny, because that's always, like, one of the theories when, like, an eternal being is in a child's body, is that the mind still is of a child. Like, they still don't really grow past that, like, level of maturity or thought processing. And Sprite very much was that character. She wasn't a mature preteen. Yeah. She was a preteen that was in love. That was weird. That was weird.
That was one of the only, like, plot points that just felt unnecessary.
I didn't like it.
I didn't understand, like... I just didn't think they did a good job showing it. Like, it was fine for her to, like, be in love with him for forever, because, like, there's no way that none of these other ones had feelings for each other at some point.
I mean, they're literally, like, eternal beings, so I get it. It's just, like, a weird thought to, like, see a kid's body be in love with such an adult.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought they did a really, like, bad job portraying that, and even just the dialogue leading up to it. You know what I mean? Like, when King goes, like, oh, kind of, like, flaming her for it, he's like, oh, you're in love with him, blah, blah, blah. Like, it just, I don't know.
That's one of the things... That seemed
kind of forced, but that was about it.
One of the big things that this movie suffered from was telling versus showing.
Yeah.
But to be fair, like, there was a lot to fit in, I guess. But that was weird. I didn't like it. I know that she kind of had to, because otherwise, like, she would have never gone to his side.
I was hoping at the end that she was a
faking
double
it.
agent.
Yeah.
And she was faking it to kind of be the last line to help save them.
I thought so, too.
And so when she stabbed her, I was like, alright, you just suck.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bummer, but...
That was when I was like, you really are a child. You know, like... Yeah. You were with Cersei for the past few years, just, like, living with each other, like, best friends.
Yeah.
And you're gonna fall in love with her mans and then betray her for it? Gross. She was not for the girls. But yeah. Overall, I know I complained a lot, but...
Did you?
I feel like I complained a lot in this podcast.
No.
But overall, I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
It was really funny. The humor was different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I
would definitely watch it again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So.
I was more impressed overall with, like, how it turned out. Like, I didn't have very high expectations going in, and
yeah,
I can't say that I was disappointed.
I was excited, but also nervous going into it, just because it was going to be so different, but I'm very happy with the finished product.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And hopefully we don't go MIA again for a while. We're still in between houses, but there is a lot of stuff coming out, and a lot of stuff that has come out. So I do recommend watching Star Wars Visions, What If series. Both of those I did enjoy a lot. And Dune just came out, and
we were going to do a podcast on that.
We were going to do that first, but this was just fresh in our heads. But
yeah.
Definitely watch Dune. If we have time, we'll talk about that next. And then Hawkeye starts in 2 weeks. And then Spider-Man.
You're making me tired. Just like, you're speaking words, and I'm getting sleepy.
So, yeah. Hopefully we can stay more on top of it this time, because there's a lot of stuff coming out. Like,
and we're about to, like, we're moving soon.
Yeah. Hey, but once we're moved, we should be a little bit more consistent, which will be nice.
You say that. But there's the whole moving process, and it's going to be in the middle of things.
I move quickly. You take forever.
I move quickly. You take forever. That's what you sound like when you're being dumb.
That's all I got.
Being dumb?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so... Please stand by.
Please stand by.
That's really never applied more than right now.
Yeah. Please stand by.
Like, please, just stand by.
I'm begging you.
We're trying our best.
Goodness.
I'm tired, babe.
Oh.
Like, well, not like that tired, but like I'm tired of being.
Tired of being. I feel that.
Yeah. Honestly, like, that was the one thing I thought of with the Eternals. I was like, dude.
Like, that's a lot of living.
That's a lot of life. I personally don't think I could do that.
Are you sure about this?
Like, that's where, like, Thena became the most relatable character. I'm like, yeah, I think I'd get a little murderous and crazy, too, after a while.